Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another thrilling Beer 30 Sanity session, as in Insanity, or an Enjoy Your Life session. So, without further ado, here's to me, here's to you. Should we ever disagree? Here's to me. Cerveza por favor. Anyway, it's cold here, guys. But since this is a session where we're supposed to sit, relax, enjoy our life, and get our blood pressure down instead of up, you know what I mean? But we're going to get it down, down, down. Remember years ago, some of you old timers out there, I used to go in bars. I'm sure none of you ever did, just me by myself. No. But I used to go in bars and hang out, and years ago people used to sit around and tell jokes. That people actually had a sense of humor, you know what I mean? And that was great because I can't remember all of them, but I do remember 4 what I call Hall of Fame jokes. Hall of Fame, big old biggies, and you probably won't like any of them, but that's because we're different. I do me, you do you. But I'm going to tell you these 4 jokes. Why? Because I ain't got nothing else. But anyway, let me wet my whistle, so to speak. Skull. Cheers. Prost. Anyway, 4 Hall of Fame jokes, if I can remember them. I heard these 40 years ago, and so, but I still remember them. Yep, I sure do. I think. We'll find out here in just a second. The first Hall of Fame joke, I'll tell you, is this was told to me by a publisher of a newspaper about 40 years ago and he said, many years ago, there was this young man or middle-aged man wanted to drop out of society and join a monastery. He just couldn't stand the pressure of society, and he wanted to live where there was more peace and harmony, less interference. So he found a monastery, and he goes there and applies for entrance to monk land, or whatever they call it, and talks to the head monk in charge. I don't know what they called him. Monkey, I guess. No, but anyway, monk. And he told the man that he really wanted to become a monk and enjoy his life and silent prayers and all that stuff. And the the monkey, that's what we'll call him, or the head monk, the guru or whatever. So, well, that's fine, but you have to take a vow of silence. And the guy says, well, what does that entail? And the monkey told him that what that was, you couldn't talk. After 10 years, you could say 2 words. And then 10 years later, 2 words. 10 years later, only 2 words. After 10 years, that's it. If you can't deal with that, don't even join. So the guy thought for a minute. He said, I can do that. I'm ready to get in here and do this thing. It'll be all mental. So he did. And he worked hard in the gardens and read his books and did all his stuff for 10 years. And he didn't violate his vow of silence. He's called in by the monkey after 10 years. That means the leader of the monks. And the monkey said, Sam, you've been here 10 years. And now you can say 2 words. Sam thought for a minute, looked around, and said, bed hard. The head monk says, that's all. Thank you very much. We'll see you again in 10 years. So Sam goes back out, works in the garden, does his meditations and does all his stuff. 10 more years drag by. Sam comes into the head monkey, and the monkey says, Sam, you've been here 20 years. This is your second 10-year period. You can say 2 more words. Sam thought for a minute and he said, "Food cold." That's your 2 words, Sam? Thank you very much. Sam goes back out to the gardens and the fields and works for another 10 years. At this time, Sam has been in the monastery for 30 full years, and he said 4 words. He goes back to the monkey, the chief monk, and the monk looks at him and says, "Sam, you've been here for 30 years now. 3 10-year cycles. You can say 2 more words." Sam looks at him right square in the face and he says, "I quit." And the monkey says, "We knew it. You've been a constant complainer since you've been here." Skull, Prost. Constant complainer. 30 years. That's Hall of Famer number 4. We got more. Chug-a-lug. The next one. Hall of Fame joke number 3. I don't know what order they should be in. I just made this up. But anyway, this old boy went to a football state. He's an old worker, you know what I mean, blue collar guy, hard worker, you know, hands tough, raw, like rawhide. And anyway, but he hardly ever got to go to a stadium to a football game. So anyway, his college team was playing nearby. He drove over in his old pickup. Didn't have any flats on the way, nothing. Got there in fine shape. Goes in the stadium. The stadium holds 80,000 fans. And he got there about midway. The stands were, well, maybe 2/3 full when he got there. And so he finally fooled around there and got it. He wanted to have him some popcorn, a hot dog, and a big soda water. And then he wanted to watch that football game. That was all that was on his mind. He was focused on that. He spent his whole paycheck on the whole thing. So anyway, he finally gets in the stadium, finds his seat, sit down there with all his stuff he was carrying, and he gets his soda water and everything lined up so he doesn't knock anything over, and he's got it just in about the right position, and he hears this, "Hey, Bill!" You know, he thinks, what the hell's that? So anyway, he puts his stuff down, gets it organized, and he gets up and he stands up and he looks around, you know, at 60,000 fans and more coming in. He couldn't see anybody. So he sits back down there and gets his stuff organized, and he's just fixing to take a big old bite out of his hot dog, and he hears this, "Hey, Bill!" God damn it. You know, so he puts his stuff around, he gets his hot dog, gets everything organized again. He didn't want to kick his Coke over or nothing of that stuff because he didn't have no more money. Anyway, so he gets up, he looks around at 80,000 fans. He still couldn't see anybody. So anyway, he sits down there and, you know, he gets down, he's going to take him swallow out of his big old soda water, and he gets it up there, and all of a sudden, "Hey, Bill!" That did it. That did it. That absolutely did it. He put his stuff down on the ground there where he wouldn't kick it over. He got up and he looked around and he said, "My name's not Bill." You like that? Chug-a-lug, chug-a-lug. They get worse. Hey, Bill. The Hall of Famer number 2 here. Okay. Yeah, we got 2 more to go, guys. And the pain, it's relatively painless, isn't it? You know what I mean? Suicide is painless. You know what I mean? But anyway, this is, if you remember back the old Notre Dame Cathedral. I've told some of these before, I know, but don't care. Anyway, the old Notre Dame Cathedral, this is in the, I don't know. Hey, Google, when was the Notre Dame Cathedral built?
Construction for Notre Dame Cathedral started in 1163.
Okay, well, this was 1200. 1200. And Quasimodo was the bell ringer. You know, you had to go up 300 steps into this tower and ring the bell 3 times a day. 3 times a day. You got that? But anyway, but Quasimodo was a hunchback. You know what I mean? You remember young Frankenstein, the hunchback there, and the hump kept moving? Well, Quasimodo's hump was stable. But anyway, Quasimodo was, you know, he was there at Notre Dame for about 30 years, the bell ringer, one of the best bell ringers they ever had. and but he was getting ready to retire, and so he told the people at Notre Dame that he would find a replacement on his own. So he ran an ad, a help wanted ad in the local Notre Dame Gazette somewhere around there, and he got a response. You know, he was up there in the tower, the bell tower, fixing to ring the bells one day, and here come the first applicant, and it was this little old midget about 3 feet tall, and Quasimodo was about 5'6" and weighed about 250 pounds, big old muscular arms, and and he had to struggle to ring that bell, and so he looks at this little old midget that came in there, and he thought, man, I don't know how I'm going to tell this guy that he can't handle it. You know what I mean? But he was just fixing it. He was kind of getting around to it. You know what I mean? And about that time, that little old midget runs, jumps up, hits the bell with his face, and rings it. And Quasimodo said, that's pretty good. You did ring it, but you got to ring this bell 3 times a day. And he was going on to explain, he didn't want to hurt the guy's feelings. And sure enough, the little midget runs and jumps, and he hits that bell again just hits it with his face, and rings it. And Quasimodo thought, well, that's pretty good, man. I'm kind of, but you got to do this 3 times a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And he was just fixing to tell the midget that he can't handle it. You just can't do it. Well, anyway, the midget ran, jumped, but he missed the bell, and he goes out the bell tower 300 feet down and splatters on the ground. And Quasimodo walks over to the window there, and he looks down, and the crowd's gathering around. He thought, my God, can you believe that? So anyway, he hunchbacks down the steps, 300 steps to the ground there, and goes. By the time he got there, because he couldn't move very fast, he got there. There was a crowd all gathered around. The police were already there, and he kind of breaks through the crowd and gets up to this little old midget splattered there on the ground. And he gets up there, and he's looking at this little old midget. And the police officers recognized him. Says, "Hey, Quasimodo." He said, "Do you know this? Do you know this guy?" And Quasimodo leaned over and looked at him. He says, "No, but his face rings a bell." Chug-a-lug, chug-a-lug. His face rings a bell. We got one more to go. It's a sanity session. You got to relax, and if you know a joke, tell one. Here's to you. Mm-hmm. We're on a roll, baby. Anyway, that's Quasimodo. That's number 2. So you had the monk, Bill, Quasimodo. Now you got this one. Bye-bye. You're going to like this one. Anyway, I've told this years ago. And I know you've heard some of these, and I don't care. But anyway, there's this old boy. He was a upper middle class businessman, married and lived in this nice gated community near Austin, Texas, we'll say that. And he'd been, married for about 20 years or so, in that range, 15, 20, not real long, but not real short, you know what I mean? Kind of in that middle numbness, you know what I mean? That, that ho-hum marriage part. Anyway, every morning, he would eat his breakfast, and have his little briefcase there, and he'd pick his little briefcase up and walk out the front door, and his wife would say, "Bye-bye," kind of an attack on his manness, on his, quote, maleness, you know what I mean? She'd go, "Bye-bye," and that just irritated the shit out of him. I mean, that just made him so goddamn mad he could spit, but he never said anything. Nice guy, good husband, go to work, come back home. So anyway, this went on for it'd been going on for 15 or 10 years anyway. Every morning, every working morning. And he'd about had enough of it. So anyway, he left the house one morning, walking down the little sidewalk, going to the garage to get his car. And he heard his wife say, "Bye-bye." And he turned around and he looked at her. He set his briefcase down on the ground, looked straight at her, and he said, "Bye-bye." And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes the Hall of Fame jokes. Oh, Lord, ain't life fun? See, if you don't have a sense of humor, check out. You know what I mean? Because that's what life is. Life is a joke, folks. I mean, if you take this shit serious, you're going to die early, man. I mean, everything in the world is jacking with your mind and jacking with your paycheck or whatever. You know what I mean? And you got to maintain your sanity by telling yourself or, or listening to some good jokes and enjoying some humor, particularly laugh at yourself when you do things that are a little silly. And that's what it's all about, guys. So, skull, pros, cheers, etc. Here's to you, here's to me. Mm-hmm. So those are my 4 Hall of Fame jokes. Can I think of others? Yeah, but they're not Hall of Fame jokes. See, a Hall of Fame joke has to meet my humor. You know what I mean? There are a lot of jokes out there, and some of them are semi-humorous to the people that tell them because that's their sense of humor. But for me, I like that kind of stuff. And I particularly like the one about Bill. Here's this guy in a stadium, 80,000 people. My name's not Bill. You know what I mean? And then the constant complainer. Poor old monk. 6 words. 30 years. We know it. Anyway, enough said. But yeah, it's yep, his face rings a bell. I got it. But anyway, guys, it is Friday evening, and I want y'all to enjoy your weekend, enjoy your life the best you can, and a little humor ain't going to hurt anybody, particularly on a Friday evening. It might get your weekend off to a good start, and I hope it does. And I hope you have some plans, and if you think of a good joke, tell it. You know what I mean? And yeah, we used to do that when we were younger, go in bars and stuff, and there were people that were telling jokes, and some people were pretty good at telling jokes, and some people weren't. And some of the jokes were funny, and some of them weren't. So that's the way I feel about these. You probably, some of you may think that was humorous, some of you may not. That's life. But anyway, guys, thumbs up, carpe diem. Carpe diem means seize the day in Latin. Carpe diem, adios, bye-bye. Buy anything you want. Okay? Use the Amazon link, if you think about it, in the description of all my videos. Why? Because it doesn't cost you 1 penny. And what else? Stay warm. It's a little cool here today. Right now it's about 46 degrees and overcast, which is a fall day. But having said that, ladies and gentlemen, keep your health. And stand guard at the door of your mind. And what else? That's it, guys. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy your Beer 30 Sanity session. Bye-bye. Bill. Sam.